turn that bad boy on. Hide that. There we go. All right. So for those who didn't watch what actually was a 10.5 hour stream and instead was truncated down to 8, uh, I I did a massive overview of the platform, like towards the back end after I was done with tinkering, and that was all lost. So to make up for that, I'm going to just cover it now. Okay, so what do we have here? On the side, we've got dashboard, we've got bots, analytics, integrations, e-commerce, contents, workspace settings, and billing. Dashboard, this is the dashboard. Like I said yesterday, at kind of the beginning of my video, I think overall it was pretty good. I feel like I wish these 3 panels here at the bottom were just in like a little help icon. I think something like orders and stuff, I don't know, like other metrics could go here instead that might have like a little more impact, or at least maybe, I mean, provide some sort of way to edit the modules that you have here. So these are like widgets and you can like add, subtract, whatever actually fits your use case, right? Like if I'm only focused on maybe Telegram and Facebook, I don't need these other bots by channel, right? Type of thing. Current plan, like I don't really need to see my current plan here. That can be in the billing. So I feel like kind of this banner, the current plan, and then these 3 panels are a bit meaningless. I understand they're here to they're designed to fill space, but yeah, I think there could be higher impact items here. Going into bots, so we have all bots. So you'll see we have Facebook, Telegram, Slack, WeChat, WhatsApp, SMS, Voice, and Google. One second, let me pull up digitalthink.io. Pull this up just so you understand what you're getting from this. So I only have the pro plan, as you'll see, right? I just have like 2 members, my bot users and bots. But that only also gets you 6 channels instead of the typical 8. So what we're missing is basically Google Business Messenger and Voice. So taking a look at this, we would lose out on this and this, these 2 bottom ones, right? Everything else you can connect without issue on just the pro plan. Just keep in mind that stuff like WhatsApp and SMS are going to require additional configuration as you're going to be paying for like a third-party service. So that's something you consider. But I mean, that's pretty like par for the course. Like using things like voice and SMS is very common practice through something like Twilio. Honestly, I've never seen these 2. No doubt that like there's a place for them, right? But I'm just more familiar with Twilio. WeChat obviously requires some configuration, etc. I mean, everything requires configuration, but I'm not familiar with WeChat to understand what that actually looks like. I'm more comfortable with Slack and Telegram and Facebook. Yeah. And then just to kind of like touch on it briefly. I'll show you kind of like what the flow looks like, what the builder looks like, etc. So this was a flow that we built out last night. We have different items here on what I call more or less the main menu. And depending on the item, it either goes like into this kind of main flow that we built out initially, or it has these go-to blocks where we push it into subflows. And then won't get like too much into this just because that's what yesterday was. But you know, you can do things like change the theme. Well, let me do edit flow just so you understand why that's impactful. So for example, if I click on this block, you'll see here I have like different things I can add to the block, right? But by default, the theme is Apple, I believe. I'm not a big fan of it, and I'll show you why in a second, just in terms of UX. So you'll see here, we're still working like in the same block. But now, rather than having the different components here, like different elements that we would add, they're all along this bottom bar, which might seem nice, like at first glance, right? You're like, oh, okay, I can actually see everything very clearly. It's kind of more or less like persistent. Oh, that's the wrong thing to click on. Here we go. Click on this, right? Like I can see everything very easily. But my issue with this in terms of UX is that as you're working here, like on the side, um, your entire flow as you're building out is living in the side panel. But then if you're adding things like text and whatnot, you're going from like the right of the screen down to the left. And so there's a lot of like back and forth here, just to do kind of like the basics, right? So there's a lot of like additional actions, even though you're not maybe clicking and waiting on the screen to load, traversing the entire screen side to side ends up adding time to the process, right? So two themes actually solve that problem. It's Cupcake here. Cupcake has like a more modern feel where we have add item here, and all you do is just hover, no clicking. And then you have all of your items here, right? And then even if you do this, you have these. So this is nice because you're working within one like area of the screen, and then everything else is right here. You're not going down to like a corner to add the basic elements. And then the other one I was using, which is kind of like a hybrid of the two, would be change theme, ice cream, etc. So here it's kind of like a hybrid of the two, where it lives within the side panel, but they're not along the bottom, but they are kind of persistent, where you can see everything at a glance, and then you can hover and do that as well. Right. So I would probably recommend this theme, or the Cupcake theme. And then just taking a look at like what's available in here. I'm not going to go through this too deeply, just because once again that's what the other 8 hours were for. But you can set a message, question, action. Action is going to be like how you do a lot, like your more advanced steps, right? You've got your basic actions where you're going to do your tags, etc. You've got advanced actions where you're doing like external requests like APIs, JavaScript functions. You've got integrations here. You've got notifications, commerce, etc. And these kind of like persist and other things as well. But actions are going to be like the bulk of what you're doing. So taking a look at these like go-to steps, what do these actually translate into? So if you go to flows, you'll see here that we have different flows. So main flow is where the user is entering and interacting. Then we have other flows, which either can be a workflow or a function flow. So a workflow is basically you're going to send typically like data into it, and it's going to just run like a background task. You're just sending data kind of into that flow, and it's going one way, and then it's executing from there. But you're not expecting a return on the result. Versus function flow, you're looking to step into the flow and then step out. So for example, I have this delete variables flow where we're stepping in from the main flow. We're clearing variables, having like a confirmation message, and then we're outputting back to the main flow. Versus something like a movie flow, we're sending people to this, and then they're executing, and then that's it, right? Like they receive an output, and that's it. You could believe you should be able to do like go to, right? Oh, geez. And then go back to main flow, but all you're really doing here is you're not stepping back into the main flow, you're just sending back to the main flow. And so kind of like how that differs is that stepping in versus sending back to is that if I go here, go to and like go to / sending it back to the main flow means that you're entering here again, and then you're going to be hit with the main menu immediately. Versus like stepping back into it. If I go over here, you'll see I go to the delete variables formula flow, and then I'm stepping back in with this output. So we go do that thing behind the scenes. We go clear the variables, we give the success message, and then there's the output. So then the output lets us connect to something else inside the bot wherever we decide. So that is like stepping back into it. So that's the big difference between like kind of your main flow / subflows, your workflow, and then formula flow. What else we got here? Analytics, I don't think this is too terribly powerful. I mean, I think it's a little superficial, but hey, it gives you some stats, right? Live chat is actually pretty nice. I found works more or less just fine. Like you can monitor somebody's actions and then send them a message. There's even like shortcuts which you can create. So if I do like kittens, do like you love kittens, or I can also send them a flow. So if somebody's like having issue with something, like hey, I want to purchase a product, and like maybe your main flow branches out to things, and one of your flows is like a products flow. I can send that flow, so that person then can go from there and begin like their product purchasing experience, right? So that's pretty nice. I've got like custom user fields as well that you can click into and actually edit the values. So if there's any sort of like manual thing that you need to do, you can do that here. Also, when you interact with somebody via live chat, it does this thing where it pauses the automation, so that way the bot itself isn't like forcing actions on the user during your interaction with them. And so when you're done, you can always just remove it, and then they can go back to like their usual automations, where if they do a keyword or some sort of like command, the bot will recognize that. Bot users, we have bot users here. I mean, basically the same thing, where it's more or less like a mini CRM. It's basically that same view that you get in the live chat, just without like a few components, right? Such as the actual live chat, but you can also download user data as well. I think this is largely sufficient. You get 5 million users, so it's plenty. Automation, I found there were some issues with this. So for example, let me open this up again. Go in here, open flow. Oh, wait, no, I'm doing that. Open up here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, give me 1 second. Downside to like previewing Telegram is I have to like open Telegram. Oh god, it's gonna spaz out on me. Okay, here we go. So you'll see here too, like where I sent that shortcut, you love kittens, and then I push the flow, I received that. But here's where like automations sort of fail. So I go back to automations, you'll see like if message, then push cat flow. So I do kitten, kittens, or meow. I should expect it to go to a different flow where it gives me like a cat fact. But if I do kitten, it's just going to give me the main menu, because it's saying that it doesn't actually recognize the keyword. And then if I do it again, it does nothing. But if I do it a third time, it actually recognizes it, and then it pushes me to the cat flow, like it should. All right. So that's kind of like a bit of an annoyance at the moment. Jesus, 420 kittens. Right. So this, I like the premise of keywords, but it doesn't seem to work reliably right now. For me, if I imagine that like somebody's trying to get in touch with you, like agent or representative, or I don't know, whatever, something like that. Like if you have to type it 3 times to get in touch with somebody, that would really piss me off from like the customer's end user experience. Sequences, you can go ahead and do this, kind of do like a little drip campaign in a way, right? Where after like certain period of time on like a given day, or send between, you can send them different flows, which is kind of nice, right? Like if you have, I don't know, some sort of like lead gen bot, and you want to send them something soon after they engage, and then send them something later as well, just kind of like touch base and re-engage them. You can do that here. And then triggers basically have like new user. So you're basically doing like an action based on a certain trigger, right? Like tag applied, add condition, you know, I don't know, last seen, I don't know, right? You're just setting up a rule basically based on a trigger that can happen within the flow. Next, contents, we've got user fields. These are fields like variables that the user can modify in some way, that you're asking like some sort of question, they're providing some sort of response, and then you're storing it. Bot fields is something that you're assigning from like an admin backend side that the user can't control in any way. And then tags are kind of like way to segment the audience. Won't really get too much into this, right? Tools, you have error logs, so if somebody's getting errors, it does provide some sort of transparency as to like what's going on. It's not like obviously super robust, but hey, it's I guess kind of better than nothing. That if you are encountering issues such as like this bad request, and you're not sure why, uh, then you can reach out to support, and say like, hey, I keep getting this bad request. Why is that? And hopefully they'll be able to help you. Testers and admins, I don't have really that many members on my account, nor am I at a stage where I would probably bring somebody on to use UChat. I might bring them on to use something else. It's like a little more user friendly, and I would focus on this. But you can go ahead and like add testers, like draft version, and then admins that can obviously do more. Widgets kind of nice. So with Telegram, I believe you're a little more limited versus something like a Facebook Messenger. Facebook Messenger, I think, has a couple more, at least one, if not two more items here. But what these do is like you can create something like QR code. You can like change the dot scale to be like less or more dense. Change colors too if you want. All right. You can even add a logo, etc., etc. Then what this allows you to do is allows you to send people to different flows based on the QR code. So for example, say you're like a restaurant, right? And maybe on the outside window, you have, I don't know, a way to do mobile ordering or something, or I don't know, maybe you want to look at like a PDF version of the menu. You can have this like on the outside of the window, and you can send them to a flow that like gives them the PDF version of the menu. Then you can maybe do a different QR code that's on like the table itself inside the restaurant, where they can go to a flow that actually orders food, right? And then maybe you can do another QR code that's on the counter where you send them to a flow where they can join your like loyalty program, etc., or newsletter, right? So you can have different QR codes scattered throughout that serve different purposes, and then push them to different flows of a single bot. So that's pretty nice. Multiple languages, you can add languages, you can localize it by translating, and then you could replace it with, whatever the language is. That way, if the user's browser language matches, they'll get that. And then shortcuts is what I showed you a bit earlier here, where I did like /kittens in live chat, and it sent the message here. So these are just like canned responses to use in live chat, right? So you could say like, I don't know, thank you. And then thank you for your time today. Right. And so now if I type thank you in live chat to myself, thank you. I'll receive the message of thank you for your time today, right? Something like that. That was in tools. That's the end of tools. And then broadcast is just like pushing like a flow on people. So you can add condition, you basically say, how did I do this before? I think I just did user ID, like user ID has value. Basically like targets everybody. And then you can choose a flow and push a flow on people as well. So if you want to do like a poll or something, right, you can have like a flow that's for some sort of poll, and then you can say like, I want to send this out to everybody for them to engage. And I could do that. I can also schedule it for later between like time and date. And that's about it for the bot itself. Like I said, there's some sort of like nuances between the different bots because of how they're set up slightly differently. Like Facebook Messenger, largely the whole experience is going to be the same, but the end user experience is going to differ purely due to limitations of each platform. Like you'll notice a lot of the tutorials are Facebook Chat because Facebook Messenger because it has like a bit more capability in terms of selling products, etc. By having a more like horizontal bar experience versus Telegram doesn't facilitate like a horizontal card view. It just does everything as like a single card, so it makes it a little more cumbersome. So that's something to consider when you are choosing a channel. Is that if you're going to choose to basically duplicate or replicate a bot across multiple channels, that you're familiar and comfortable with each of the channels and their nuances as to like what their limitations are. All right, cool. So we have analytics. Sort of looked at this already, right? It's pretty basic. Integrations. So we have phone numbers, different ways you can add phone number. Apps, I don't quite know exactly. Like, I mean, I guess these are going to be like third-party apps that they're going to integrate with, which it's like pretty minimal at the moment. This is actually, I guess, nice, right? Should have done this. You have to like add API key, right, to do cloud translations, but this will make it nice so you can localize and you don't have to like do that whole localization thing. But by doing it yourself, you're saving money. By doing it this way, you might have to potentially pay. You can add Stripe. What I like about this is you can switch between test and live mode very easily. Shopify, I believe they said that the Shopify is like still in beta or waiting approval or something. So you can't really use this to its full potential at the moment. Calendly, I didn't use yet, but we've all used that some capacity. Slack. Oh, I had Slack set up. Maybe I have it configured here, right? But you can do like webhooks with Slack here. And then Zapier, Pabbly for, integrations to other platforms, Dialogflow if you want to do that NLP. Google Sheet, which we set up yesterday to store different data. Then there's Data Store, which is, if you're familiar with BotStar, it's kind of like their CMS, where you're adding records to the platform itself to natively handle. I tried to set this up last night. They do have a tutorial where they go through this, but it wasn't working in a way. So I need to revisit that at some point. Basically, you can set like name, price, gender, or not gender, right? Whatever your records are, you can set that up here. And if you do like a new data store, you can add the fields, right? So if I go into edit data store, I can add more fields if necessary, and then map things to that. Email, you can add SMTP, Gmail, SendGrid, etc., etc. Oh, there's a MailChimp. And I guess I'll show you a property report. I don't know. E-commerce, similar. They have their own CMS in the background to handle things like collections of products. So you can create products, title, description, image, price, compare that price, like what the full price would be. So more or less like a sale be reflected here, or just the full price, and you would just leave this blank. You can choose not to charge tax, SKU, barcode, etc. You can track quantity, right? You can do variants, on products, you can toggle it between available and unavailable. You can assign different product types, different vendors to associate with different tags, collections as well. So you're going to handle that manually. But actually in collections, you can do it dynamically. Can I modify here? Yeah. So here you can add conditions where, like, if you're assigning a certain tag, then you could add tags, but you can also just do it here. So it'd be redundant. So you can then do tag, but then you can also do like product type, right? And then whatever product type it lives within the service that you might offer. So it'll dynamically populate here. Discounts, you can create discount codes. You can generate a code, which is kind of nice, or you can obviously enter your own, and you can choose percentage, fixed amount, free shipping. Applies to entire order specific collections, so you can say like I only want it to apply to services, not everything. You can also set like minimum purchase amount or quantities. So if I want them to at least purchase 2 products, I can do so there. Usage limits, you can limit like 1 per customer or number of times that will be applied in total. So you could say like, hey, this is good for the first 100 people, right? Take advantage of, and then you can set the active dates and save. Shopping carts, you can see like what people have added, and then orders, you can see what have been completed. And settings is where you set up like your store information, name of your business address, shipping method. There's going to be delivery, what that fee is associated with it, business hours, payment method that you accept, and then for like order IDs, you can do prefix and suffix. That is that. Contents, you can do templates if you want, right? Like you can basically assign a bot that you already have as a template, so you can reuse that over and over again. My apps, I don't think I quite understood. Oh, yeah, I kind of understood. It's very dev focused and heavy. So if you go in here, there's like authentication, etc., with API keys, blah, 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 triggers, actions, but it's all very manually done, right? So I don't think a lot of users will use this, but it is available to you if you are willing and able to hire a developer to like add some kind of custom component to your bot. Profile, nothing special here. Members, where you can, I guess, manage your members. Billing, very basic. On the pro plan, which is just here for $99 because I have no money. I do think this maybe is a little expensive, but when you compare it to other deals, especially like Baba at the moment, it's a steal, Baba. Thought I had it pulled up still. 1 second. Oops. Now, let me see if this link still works. Yeah, here we go. So in comparison, Baba also starts at $99, but you only get 1 chatbot. Here you get 10, and then 5 million, 6 channels, 1 workspace, 2 members. You just get like 1 chatbot, and then you get all of these things supposedly. Right. Plus gives you 3, Pro 5, and then Elite 10. So even if you're just doing like a more or less one-to-one of how many chatbots you get in a space, you're paying $99 here versus $700 here, which is absurd. Obviously, if you need Google Business Messenger and voice, you will have to look at least at the Pro Plus plan to get that. But even then, $299, it's more comparable to this. You're getting 3 bots for $249 versus 50 bots for $299. 1 workspace, 5 members for this. And then agency has unlimited chatbots, still your 8 channels. 1 workspace, which I think people are having like slight issue with in terms of like how you can manage things as an agency. But you get 20 members, and then here you get white label and custom domain. And Baba, they obviously offer like custom domain and branding removal at these 2 steps. but you're investing obviously a lot more into just those basic functionalities with a much lower limit. Even here at the 700, like you have the same things unlocked, but you only have 10 bots. Uh, Here you're paying 500, right, for unlimited bots. So there's a lot more value in this. It might look a bit steep, but for anybody that can actually monetize and not just put this on the shelf, I think it's well worth it. You're going to make this up. I mean, you could sell basically one bot for $500 plus easily, right? Like if you're not making ROI on your first bot, you're pricing yourself out of the market. Um, you should be able to make this up in one sale. So I wouldn't necessarily see this as like something to balk at for those who actually have a real use case and can actually monetize, whether that be selling to a client in terms of like an agency or otherwise playing it safer and doing Pro Plus if you're a single business, right? Like you should be able to make this up in a few sales, hopefully. I mean, I guess if you're doing something super low buy-in like $5, then it's going to take you much longer, right? But still, you should be able to make this up as a single business owner. If you really need these two. Otherwise, you can work within the 100. But if you truly are an agency, you'll be able to make this up in no time. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the skinny about the platform itself without really getting into it. Like I said, I went over this for like 8 hours. I actually did 10.5 hours. It got cut off early. So there's only 8 hours of content. But yeah, I encourage you to check that out. I'll try to get around to adding timestamps on YouTube, for example, where I go through various things. But overall, my takeaway from this is it's pretty good. I think the UI and UX could be like slightly updated, but it's not that offensive for me in comparison to something like BotBaba. BotBaba has terrible UX. I know they said they're going to update it in the coming months. I don't know how great that's going to look. To me, it's one of those things. If you come out of the gate looking really poor, I have very low expectations for what the next iteration will be. Like, do you really have what it takes to elevate your brand? I think while UChat has like a pretty simple and minimalistic look to it, it's still like usable, right? Like you're going to get a lot of features and functionality out of it, and I think users should be able to adopt it pretty easily. To me, the thing that I don't really like here in terms of UX also is like that if you hover, it shows kind of like a full box, but um, that's not really the case. And then in order to connect to different steps, you have to like connect to the icon, not the box as an entity. So that gets really annoying, especially coming from other chatbot builders where you can usually just connect box to box. So I still haven't like fully retrained myself to think that way. But yeah, overall, it's aesthetically like pretty appealing or pleasing, I should say. And then in terms of like its use, like the actual power under the hood, it's very capable. I think for anybody who is more of a developer, they're going to have a field day with this, getting their hands dirty with APIs, such as here, which is something that we also kind of did in continually. This kind of goes one step further where I can actually assign the image as the poster image, right? So, from like more of a dev perspective where you can make requests and then pass data through the bot, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this. And even for the more layman user, you're going to still get a lot of power out of it in terms of what it offers you. But you'll barely scratch the surface of what it actually provides in terms of like a robust platform. Yeah, what else? I mean, I think that's about it. I would give this maybe 4 out of 5. Um, the the things that keep me from giving it like 5 out of 5 are things like the keywords not firing, I think, correctly. What else? If you watched the actual video last night, where was it? It was Puppy Mill. Here we go. Here I was trying to basically iterate through a JSON into different cards, like they have in the tutorial. If you watch their tutorials, you'll see where you can add to your data store. Like you can pull in from your data store and like add records, update records, replace records, etc. Like you can manipulate the data in the data store, which is really cool. But I didn't have any success with that just because of how it was formatted, and I think they kind of confirmed that it was an issue on their end. And there was really no way to get around that. So that for me, like I spent a lot of time trying to troubleshoot it and come up with my own solution, but I was unable to. So for me, like stuff like that begins to sort of ding points, but overall, it's very powerful. I think if you already have a bot platform, for example, I love Landbot. Landbot does have things like Facebook and WhatsApp, but I use it a lot more for its web bots, right? So for me, for somebody like me, I see a lot of value in pairing Landbot with UChat. And why is that? It's because I get good mileage out of web bots from something like Landbot, but UChat complements it by providing like a visual bot builder for all these other channels that I otherwise wouldn't get in Landbot, at least to this breadth, right? And I would assume that they're going to add more and include them, hopefully, right, in the pro pricing, as they add more things, like maybe Line or whatever down the road. Right, so just because I have one doesn't mean I can't have both without there being overlap, right? If you're looking to avoid overlapping purchases, then you could buy into both of these and avoid the overlap. So that's really good. I like that. And that's why I see a lot of value in this. If you're one of those people that's like asking bot Baba versus UChat, I would go UChat. I really don't like the UI or UX of bot Baba at the moment. No doubt it's somewhat powerful, right? Like if you're gonna use it for certain things, it has the capability. It's not intuitive at all. Obviously, I sunk many hours into UChat last night, but I felt like I achieved more in UChat and was more intuitive in a shorter period of time than all of the times I've tried to use Bot Baba, and for me it just couldn't stick. It's capable, but it's just a pain in the ass. You're gonna get WhatsApp in UChat, and then some, right? Like you're not going to be just limited to WhatsApp. You're going to be able to translate that into a bunch of different channels. So you're getting a lot more value out of this in the long run. Yeah, I've seen some things about like Phone Wagon. I haven't set this up, right? So I honestly don't know. I think the gripe is that people have like bought into Phone Wagon already and get their minutes per month, etc., which is fine. I mean, like that's a service, right? You basically bought into a Twilio, but you didn't buy into a UChat, right? So UChat is able to do these visualization and like builders and automations. So you're still having to pay for Twilio as an external service, but you're still, once again, kind of like Bot Baba is with Phone Wagon, you're getting one product out of it. Here, you're getting a lot more. Yeah, I think that's about it. This has already been 40 minutes. There's no such thing as like quick with me. But that at least is like a rundown of the platform. And as you can tell, I spend 40 minutes going through kind of like each facet just on a surface level. There's obviously a lot being offered here. So yeah, I would recommend getting it. I don't know if it's a FOMO tactic or if it's true, but supposedly they're kind of like running out of code soon. So I would recommend picking it up. I'm not going to speak to the platform or make any sort of promises, but I would like to imagine that, you know, if you're buying into at least the Pro right now and they sell out like in the next 4 hours, that hopefully they'll allow you to upgrade at some point. I don't know. That'd just be like good business practice, but I'm not speaking for the platform at all. So I'm not going to FOMO you, but if you truly see value, at least in something like Google Business Messenger and Voice, then at least get Pro Plus. You probably don't need agency, especially if you're a single business. But just to have that safety net, get Pro Plus. Me, I'm too poor, so I did the $99. It just is what it is. But like I said, I think I see a lot of value in the $99 for complementing my web bots. I use Telegram all the time with my friends, so being able to like build out different flows, different APIs and stuff, just to have like a fun little bot that we can use, like would be nice, right? I mean, that's $99 worth. Yeah. So I hope you appreciated this little rundown. Hopefully it gave you some insight. If you want more, well, like a first look and like see the nitty-gritty of how the platform actually works, then go check out my 8-hour-long video. That I focus, like I kind of laser focus on a few different things, but you'll see as I'm doing that, the different steps, actions, etc., that are afforded to you while I don't drill down into each one. You'll see kind of what each component of the platform is capable of as I'm doing my flows. So definitely recommend taking a look at that if you have time. If not, just kind of skim through, right? Skim through. You'll learn something. But yeah, I appreciate it. Oops, I clicked on some random thing. But this is probably gonna be like one of my last walkthroughs, tutorials, etc. of a platform. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some sort of value out of this. Oh, I didn't check chat. I'm sorry. Wait, are you redoing this or are you just re-uploading? Well, I can't show these, can I? Anyway, yeah, this is just to make up for the time that was cut off by Restream yesterday. So anyway, appreciate you watching. Hopefully you got some sort of value or insight from this. And yeah, definitely, as always with everything, you should go check it out. I'm pretty sure Digital Think has, what, 30 days money back? What's their policy? 30 days, no? Am I speaking out of my ass here? I think there's a refund policy, right? Anyway, just go check it, try it out, make your evaluation of it, as always with everything. Just because I love something or hate something doesn't mean that everybody will feel that sentiment. All right. Yeah. Until the next time that we meet, friends. It's been real.